I need you to promise me something before you do anything else. If I disappear after this, if my account goes dark and no one hears from me again, promise me you check the walls. Don't just assume it's my imagination. I can't say much more because, well, they can hear when I re-record. I've tried explaining it before, but no one believes me until it's too late. And I don't know how much time I have left. I used to think echoes were harmless. Funny, even. I'd hear my voice bouncing off a wall and chuckle, thinking it was just physics messing with me. That was before I learned what happens when your reflection doesn't stay put. That's when things start listening. That's when things start responding. I'm recording this in one take because any pause, any attempt to stop and start again, it changes everything. They notice. You don't get a second chance. The first mistake, the first hesitation. And they know you're aware. They start mirroring you, copying you, learning you. And the worst part? They're patient. Eternally patient. Waiting behind your drywall, in the shadows of your ceiling tiles, inside the hum of your ventilation system. They watch the smallest things, the habits you don't even realize you have. I first noticed him or me, I don't even know how to describe it, about a week ago. I was brushing my teeth, staring into the mirror, humming a tune I thought I made up, and I swear I heard it again, coming from the corner of the room. My own voice, slightly off, like it was delayed by a heartbeat. I froze. My toothbrush clattered in the sink. The hum stopped. And then I heard it, a whisper from inside the walls. My own words repeated back to me. Only wrong. Just slightly wrong. Enough to make the skin crawl, enough to make your brain doubt itself. I can't explain why I didn't leave immediately. Maybe because part of me hoped it was just exhaustion, the stress of living alone, staring too long at the same peeling wallpaper, listening to the faint hum of electricity in an old apartment. Maybe because part of me thought I could control it. Or maybe, deep down, I wanted to see him, to confront this. Other me. Every night, the sounds grow bolder. Footsteps behind the walls, soft at first, then deliberate. Scratches that start out as random settling, then rhythmically echoing the cadence of my own movements. I've tried recording it all, but the devices capture only fragments that don't make sense to anyone else. They say my voice is haunted, that I'm imagining things. But you're listening now. You're hearing me, right? I can feel him moving tonight, closer than ever. He doesn't just mimic anymore, he's learning. Learning my hesitations, my flinches, the way I stutter when I'm nervous. He's becoming me. And if he succeeds, I don't know who will be left on this side of the wall. I'm warning you because someone has to know. Someone has to understand that if your walls echo your thoughts back at you in ways that aren't natural, you can't ignore it. If you hear your own laughter after you've stopped talking, if you hear your name called from behind a wall when no one else is home, don't look away. Don't try to rationalize it. Don't assume it's just a coincidence. It's not. And now, I hear it. My name. Muffled, coming from the corner behind the drywall. Not my voice exactly. It's mine, but it isn't. It's slower, dragging the syllables like it's savoring them, stretching the sound until it hangs in the air and fills every empty space of the room. J. Oh, Hess. I froze. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to tear through the walls and escape. But I can't. My limbs won't respond the way they should. My breath catches in my throat. And that's when I realized it knows I'm scared. It feeds on it. I don't know how much longer I can keep recording. I don't know how much longer I can stay here. But if you're watching this, if you hear my voice in the playback and it sounds like it's coming from inside your own walls, understand this. Pay attention. Pay very close attention. Because the moment you do, you may find that there's another you living just behind the surface, waiting. And when he whispers your name, you'll understand why I begged you to promise. Moving in felt like the start of a dream I'd been saving up for years. The apartment wasn't much cheap rent, the kind of place where the walls are thin enough to hear a sneeze in the next unit. But it was mine. Mine, finally. The excitement was immediate. I could leave dishes in the sink for a week, wear pajamas until noon, and talk to myself without judgment. My own space, my own rules, my own little slice of freedom. The building had character. If you ignored the peeling paint and the faint smell of damp carpet that lingered in the hallways. The tap in the kitchen dripped rhythmically, a tiny metronome that marked the passing of time. My neighbor upstairs played music loud enough that I could hum along unintentionally, but I didn't mind. I even found it kind of comforting. The occasional bass thump reminded me I wasn't completely alone. The landlord seemed nice enough. At least in the casual way, people seem nice when you're signing papers and counting out checks. But when I asked him who had lived here before, he avoided my eyes, clearing his throat and muttering something about long-term tenants moving out suddenly. I didn't press it. I've never been good at confrontation. I shrugged it off and focused on the positives. A freshly painted living room, an oversized window that let in the morning sun, and a bathroom that actually drained properly. The first night was bliss. I set up my laptop in the living room, brewed a cup of coffee, and lounged on the sagging sofa like a king surveying his domain. It felt safe, normal. The kind of normal you tell your friends about when you finally get your own place. I could hear the faint hum of the radiator, the occasional squeak of the floorboards, and it all blended into a rhythm I could relax to. But even in that perfect ordinary, there were quirks. The walls seemed to shift in the dark. Not literally. Of course, I told myself it was my imagination, but there were moments when the drywall almost felt like it was breathing, expanding and contracting in subtle, unplaceable ways. I laughed at the thought, shaking my head. Guess I've got a ghost with stage fright, I muttered aloud, and the sound of my own voice felt strange, lingering just a second longer than it should have. I quickly adapted to the apartment's idiosyncrasies. The drip of the tap became a comforting tick, the neighbor's music a soundtrack to my evenings, the occasional draft a reminder that I was alive, alone, in a space that was all mine. Even the faint smell of damp carpet faded into the background, replaced by the smell of coffee and my takeout dinners. Everything was normal, and I reveled in it. Then it happened. I was laughing at a stupid joke on a forum, leaning back in my chair, when I heard it, my laughter. Same tone, same timing, but coming from the other room. My stomach dropped. I froze. The sound echoed back, faint and distorted, almost as if the walls had swallowed it and spat it back out with a delay. I strained my ears, but there was nothing else, just that eerie repetition of my own voice. I walked into the living room, cautiously scanning the corners as though my laughter might be hiding behind the furniture. Nothing, no one. Only the faintest creak of the floorboards, betraying the apartment's age. I forced myself to laugh it off, shaking my head. "Okay, that's new," I muttered, trying to sound casual. "Probably just the acoustics. Cheap walls." But as I stood there, I couldn't help noticing the way the shadows seemed to hug the edges of the room a little closer, the way the air felt heavier near the walls. My perfect apartment suddenly felt smaller, more alive. Alive in a way I wasn't supposed to notice. And that's when I realized the ordinary was never going to stay ordinary for long. It started late one night, when the apartment had finally settled into that fragile silence that feels like it's holding its breath. I was scrolling through my phone, half asleep, half wide awake, when I thought I heard it, a whisper. Faint, almost imperceptible, like someone muttering under their breath. I paused, staring at the blank ceiling, heart hammering. My own words? No, they hadn't spoken yet. I listened. The whisper repeated what I had just said out loud. A simple comment to myself about the ridiculous number of notifications on my phone. Every syllable, word for word, repeated. Only wrong. Slightly warped, like the echo had been stretched and dipped in shadow. My stomach sank. I laughed nervously, telling myself it was my imagination. But then it happened again. Another phrase, this time from my earlier grocery list, echoed back in the same soft, mocking cadence. I grabbed my phone, opened the voice recorder, and started speaking in low, hesitant tones, testing the pattern. I should probably drink more water. I paused, and then it came. The words repeated, delayed by just enough to send chills up my spine. And then the next, I should probably drink more water. Only this time, it added a syllable that I hadn't said. A pause, a soft chuckle, a laugh after I did. My fingers froze on the screen. I couldn't ignore it anymore. This wasn't just acoustics. This wasn't some quirky apartment quirk. Something or someone was listening, mimicking, studying. I spent the next few nights experimenting, speaking softly, whispering, mumbling, each time recording and replaying. Every playback confirmed the same horrifying pattern. It followed me, repeated me, then twisted me. The echo said something different the second time, like it was testing me, teasing me. Learning. Sleep became impossible. Every creak in the apartment, every shifting shadow in the corner of my eye, felt purposeful. My heart raced with every drip of the tap, every hum of the refrigerator. I began to notice little signs, tiny scratches near the baseboards, like claws that had left shallow, frantic marks. Fragments of something light and wiry stuck in the corner's hair. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to know where it came from. But I had to see. I had to prove to myself that this wasn't me losing my mind. So I did what any rational, increasingly terrified person would do. I grabbed a utility knife and carefully cut a small hole in the drywall. The edges crumbled slightly under my fingers. I leaned closer, eyes straining in the dim light. And that's when I saw it. Not just shadows, not just darkness, but movement, subtle, unnerving movement, like something curling around inside the wall, waiting, watching. And then, an eye, my eye, wide, impossibly familiar, staring at me through the thin barrier of plaster and paint. A mirror of myself, but not me. Not quite. The sight made my stomach twist and my pulse hammer so hard it felt like it might burst through my ribs. I jerked back, heart hammering, hands trembling, my own voice catching in my throat. The silence pressed down immediately, thick and suffocating, as though the apartment itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what I would do next. I wanted to scream. I wanted to flee, but instinct rooted me to the spot. The eye blinked once, slowly, deliberately, and I felt a pang of recognition I couldn't shake. This thing knew me. It had been watching every word, every gesture, every little twitch I thought went unnoticed. It had been inside my walls, in my life waiting. I slammed the hole shut, leaving the drywall jagged and broken, and stumbled back across the room. My phone lay on the counter, still recording, capturing nothing but the echo of my own rapid breathing. I forced myself to play it back. Silence. Or maybe I told myself I didn't want to hear it. Maybe the worst part was knowing that it hadn't needed to speak to terrify me anymore. The apartment felt suddenly smaller, the air thicker, and then faintly, from somewhere behind the walls, I heard it again. A whisper so soft I could barely make out the words, but unmistakable. My voice, my laugh, and a subtle inflection I had never used. I flinched. If you've ever heard yourself whisper when you weren't speaking, I cannot stress this enough. Do not investigate. Do not, under any circumstances, try to prove it to yourself. Because the moment you look too closely, the moment you pry, the thing inside notices. And then, it starts to learn. And that's exactly what it was doing. I tried to rationalize it at first. Surely there was some logical explanation, a wiring glitch, a neighbor with perfect timing, or a faulty recording app. But the more I documented, the harder it became to deny what was happening. My phone, my laptop, even a cheap digital recorder, all captured fragments of something that shouldn't exist. Footage of me speaking in my living room would show a shadow lingering in the corner, mimicking my gestures ever so slightly, always just a beat behind. Recordings of my voice would repeat, almost verbatim, yet with subtle inflections I had never made. It was learning me, studying me, becoming me. I uploaded a few clips online, hoping for anyone to help me make sense of it. Instead, I got ridicule. Fake, audio glitch, attention seeker, the usual. But some comments caught my attention. A user named @StaticWatcher said, "Some say you create a copy every time you post a video. Be careful what you share." Another, @EchoArchivist, replied, "I've seen it. Once it knows you, it doesn't stop." I laughed nervously, half convinced they were trolling. But a small part of me shivered. What if they weren't? I spent hours comparing timestamps, frame by frame, checking for coincidences. And there it was again, the subtle differences. My reflection in the corner of the screen would tilt its head slightly differently. My voice would pause, ever so briefly, as if listening before answering. My movements lagged behind on the recording, not in playback, but as though something else had done them first. I even found a faint piece of hair stuck to the lens of my camera one morning. Blonde like mine, but thicker and coarser. Nothing else explained it. The deeper I dug, the more I found whispers of a legend, something called the Reverb. It wasn't on mainstream sites, just old forum posts, deleted threads, cryptic mentions. People who recorded themselves obsessively, they claimed, sometimes crossed a line. An echo would form, a reflection that shouldn't exist. And once it existed, it learned, it adapted, it waited. Some vanished entirely. Others returned changed. I tried to brush it off, but I couldn't. There were usernames long gone that seemed to haunt the same corners of the internet. Warning, describing experiences almost identical to mine. Curiosity gnawed at me, despite every instinct screaming to stop. I uploaded a test clip, a short one of myself reciting a mundane phrase, and waited. Hours passed. Then, late at night, a comment appeared. Lag detected. You've been heard. I didn't know whether to be terrified or grateful that someone else noticed. Has anyone else heard their echo lag behind? Comment if you have. The words echoed in my mind as I stared at the screen. Pale light of the monitor illuminating the dark corners of my apartment. I tried to sleep, but couldn't. Every sound, the creak of the floorboards, the hum of the refrigerator, even the dripping tap felt charged. Every shadow seemed alive, moving in ways I didn't fully understand. Rationality had been replaced by obsession. I documented everything. Video timestamps, audio files, detailed notes. Each new entry made the presence more real, more demanding, more terrifying. By the end of the week, I realized that waiting, observing, recording wasn't enough. I had to confront it. I had to see it without a screen, without a recorder mediating the experience. I spent the next night setting up hidden cameras around the apartment. One pointed at the living room corner, one at the bedroom wall, and a third angled at the bathroom mirror. If it was watching me, I wanted it to be captured, traced, understood. I needed proof that shouldn't exist. And yet, as I left the cameras running and paced the apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling that the moment I did, I had crossed some invisible threshold. Something had noticed. Something had learned. I didn't sleep the night I set up the cameras. I couldn't. Every creak of the walls sounded like breathing. Every flicker of light like someone moving just out of view. When morning came, I finally gathered enough nerve to check the footage. My hands shook as I clicked play. At first, everything looked normal. Just me pacing, talking to myself, trying to act like nothing was wrong. But then, around 3:17 a.m., the feed from the living room camera glitched. Static rippled across the screen just for a second, and when the picture cleared, I saw it. I was standing still, frozen mid-step. But behind me, through the faint reflection on the TV screen, something moved. It wasn't my shadow. It wasn't a trick of light. It was me, another me. He stepped out from the wall, slow and deliberate, his movements lagging like corrupted footage. I paused the video, rewound, zoomed in until the pixels blurred, but there was no mistaking it. He was there, solid, breathing, turning his head toward the camera like he knew I'd be watching. I blinked. He didn't. That simple fact hollowed me out. I replayed the sequence over and over, my breath hitching each time. In one frame, he tilted his head slightly, lips moving silently. I turned up the volume, praying to hear nothing. But the speakers crackled and a faint voice emerged, a whisper layered under static. My voice, "It's not your life," it said. "It's mine." I froze. The words crawled through me, cold and certain. I slammed the laptop shut, heart pounding, but the echo lingered in my head, like the words had embedded themselves in my skull. I sat there shaking, staring at the walls, realizing for the first time that the boundaries between him and me weren't as clear as I wanted to believe. I told myself it was fake, an artifact, some kind of feedback loop. But then came the knocking. Slow, deliberate, from inside the drywall, matching my heartbeat at first. then falling out of sync slower, steadier, taunting. I pressed my ear to the wall. Faintly I heard breathing. Not echoes, not pipes, but real breathing, shallow and measured, mirroring mine but half a beat behind. "Who are you?" I whispered. The reply came soft, like it was pressed right against the plaster on the other side. "You know who I am." I stumbled back, adrenaline flooding my veins. My phone buzzed. A notification: someone had commented on my last upload. My shaking hands opened it. The comment read, "He's right behind you." I turned, half expecting the worst, but the room was empty. Still, the walls seemed to pulse faintly, as if something was shifting beneath the surface. I couldn't tell if it was the light, or if it was him moving. I reopened the footage, desperate for proof that I wasn't losing my mind. Frame by frame, the video unfolded like a nightmare on repeat. My doppelgänger emerged again, closer this time. The camera's microphone picked up faint, impossible words, low and deliberate, as if addressing the viewer directly. "He doesn't remember," it said. "He doesn't remember what he did to me." My skin crawled. What I did? What was it talking about? I leaned closer to the screen, studying its face, my face. But there was something off about the eyes. They were too aware, too focused, like they remembered things I couldn't. Then the feed glitched again, just for an instant. When it cleared, my double's mouth moved independently from mine. No sound at first, just motion. Then, faintly, "I deserve the life outside." I froze, breath caught halfway in my throat. The tone, it wasn't angry. It was desperate, pleading. I could almost hear it. Pleading. I could almost hear the longing in his voice. The words hit harder than I expected because deep down, I could feel a strange echo of that same desire reverberating inside me. I closed the laptop, forcing myself to stop watching, but the damage was done. The walls felt closer now, pressing inward, as though they'd grown thicker, heavier. My mind raced with fragmented questions that had no answers. What if he wasn't a ghost? What if he wasn't even a hallucination? What if I was the reflection, the echo, and he was the original? The thought made me nauseous. I needed air. I opened the window and stared out into the pale morning light, trying to convince myself the world outside was still real. But behind me, from somewhere deep inside the drywall, came one final whisper, clearer than ever. "Don't leave me in here." I turned, and for a split second, the light flickered, the faint outline of my own silhouette rippling through the paint like water disturbed. Then it was gone. Just the hum of the fridge, the distant rumble of pipes, and my own ragged breathing. I don't remember how long I stood there, staring at the wall, waiting for another sound, another word. All I know is that when I finally blinked, the air felt different, stale, thick with something unseen. And for the first time since I moved in, I realized I wasn't sure which side of the wall I was on anymore. Static crackled faintly from my laptop. The screen flickered to life on its own, showing the paused frame of my double staring straight into the camera. His lips parted once more, but before the sound could come through, the video cut to black. I shut everything off. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I sat there in the half-darkness, trembling, staring at the walls that had once made me feel safe. They felt alive now, listening, waiting. And somewhere behind the plaster, something that wore my face smiled. I've stopped marking the days. Time's a blur now, morning light, night static, same difference. Sleep's a gamble I keep losing. I can't tell if it's been a week or a month since I saw the footage. Since he looked at me, it started small. Footsteps. Not the usual settling wood. Not the rhythmic groan of an old building. No, these were mine. Delayed by a few seconds, soft but unmistakable. I'd walk across the living room, stop and wait, and then step, step, like someone copying my movements with just enough lag to remind me they weren't mine anymore. I tried recording it, of course. Phone in hand, flashlight on, voice trembling. But playback never caught it. The sound was gone, replaced by faint static, as if my phone knew what not to capture. Then came the small shifts. My toothbrush wasn't where I left it. My phone showed open tabs I didn't visit. My reflection in the mirror seemed half a breath too slow. And every time I blinked, I swore I could feel someone else's eyelids closing a fraction of a second later. Right behind the glass. Dark humor kept me sane, or something close to sane. At least he does the dishes now, I said once, out loud. The joke died halfway through when I heard my own voice finish it from the bathroom mirror. Same tone, same laugh. But the echo lasted longer, almost fond. He's getting bolder. It started online next. A friend messaged me on Discord. Nice talk last night, man. You seemed different. I hadn't spoken to anyone in days. Then another text, my ex of all people. If this is your way of apologizing, it's working. You sounded like yourself again. I hadn't called her. I checked my call log. My number had made 2 outgoing calls between 3 o'clock and 3:04 a.m. I listened to the recordings. My voice, my words. Talking about things I didn't remember. Details from old fights. Secrets I'd buried years ago. He was using my history. He answers texts before I do now. I'll get a message, see the notification flash, and by the time I open it, the typing bubbles are gone, replaced by my own replies. My friends think I'm funny again. My boss thinks I'm focused. Everyone seems to like him better. I tried smashing the mirrors. Every single one. But that just made more surfaces for him to hide in, reflections and phone screens, in the dark TV glass, in puddles from the leaky tap. He's everywhere like dares to bounce. The weirdest part? Sometimes I miss him. There's a comfort in knowing I'm not really alone. A sick part of me wonders if he feels the same way, if he's pacing behind his walls, trying to mimic me perfectly, afraid I'll stop being predictable. Then the heartbeat started. At first, I thought it was just mine, adrenaline, exhaustion, anxiety. But I noticed it during the quiet moments, when I'd sit still and count the beats in my ears. A faint rhythm, perfectly in sync. Then, slowly it would drift, off by 1, then 2. Like someone was trying to match me but couldn't quite keep up. I'd press my palm to my chest, feel the thud, and swear I could hear another one echo from the floorboards beneath me. Not from below, from within. I put my ear to the wall one night, desperate to prove I wasn't crazy. And there it was, a second heartbeat, faint, struggling to keep pace with mine. When I held my breath, it kept going. The next morning, I found handprints on the inside of my mirror. I wish I could say I was surprised. But by then, surprise was a luxury I couldn't afford. The messages from him are getting clearer. Last night, when I tried to record an update for the forum to warn the others, my mic picked up 2 voices. Both mine, talking over each other. One nervous, one calm. The calm one said, "He's almost ready." I've started avoiding reflections altogether. My laptop stays closed. My phone face down. But I can feel him close, restless. Sometimes when I breathe out, I hear him inhale. When I move, he waits a second before copying, like a predator learning its prey's rhythm. This morning, I caught my own face in the black of the TV screen, not moving, just watching. I covered it with a blanket. I could still feel the eyes through the fabric. My voice is changing too. People keep saying I sound different on calls. Deeper, steadier, almost confident. But when I listen to recordings, I don't recognize it. It's like he's speaking through me, using my lungs, my throat, borrowing my skin. I keep telling myself I'm real. I write it down on sticky notes. I am the original. He is the echo. I stick them on the fridge, the walls, the door. Every morning, a few of them are gone. I know what he's doing. He's learning. He's getting bolder. And the worst part? I think he's better at being me than I ever was. I can feel him pushing now. Like something pressing against the inside of my chest. My heart skips, then doubles back. The second rhythm catching up. If you're hearing this, if you're hearing this at all, if you can still tell which voice is mine, don't listen to him. Don't. I couldn't wait any longer. Days of pacing, listening, recording, analyzing, it all came down to this moment. The apartment felt tighter than ever, walls pressing in like they were alive, waiting for me to make a move. I grabbed a hammer, the one I'd kept in the closet for emergencies, and started tearing into the drywall. Every swing felt like liberation, but also like a warning. Dust filled the air, the fluorescent lights flickered, and the sound was intoxicating loud, chaotic, alive. I went live on my stream. My viewers would either be terrified, or they'd think I was completely unhinged. But I didn't care. I needed witnesses. Every swing of the hammer echoed through my phone's mic, mingling with a faint static that wasn't coming from the electronics. It was him. Him and me, clashing in the air and walls alike. The first crack revealed him. Or maybe it revealed me. I couldn't tell anymore. Two shadows identical, breathing, moving, struggling in the half-light behind the plaster. Our voices overlapped in unison, arguing, shouting, screaming at the same time, each trying to assert ownership of the apartment, the life, the body. You're not real. One of us screamed, "I am. I existed first." The other yelled back, the sound echoing like it came from everywhere at once. The stream viewers typed in real time, questions and warnings scrolling past, but their words didn't reach me. I was too deep, too caught up in the chaos of limbs, voices, dust, and screams. The hammer collided with something solid, the drywall splintered. And I realized neither of us was fully visible, just fragmented shadows writhing behind broken plaster. Glimpses of movement that made my stomach twist. Then came the scream. Not one, but two voices merging into a single piercing howl that split the air. It was primal, desperate, and infinitely human. The camera fell from my hands during the struggle, bouncing on the floor. Through the lens, I could see the shadows entangled, one pushing, the other resisting. They were indistinguishable, blurred by dust, sweat, and adrenaline. One of us had to stop existing. I felt it in my chest, a hollowing certainty that left me gasping, weightless, suspended between terror and anticipation. The fight went on for minutes or maybe seconds. Time had lost all meaning. Finally, silence. The air thickened, heavy and still. Dust settled, and the shadows froze. Nothing moved. I couldn't tell who remained, if either of us survived fully, or if it was something in between, a compromise neither could recognize. I turned off the stream, too drained to notice the chat still exploding with speculation. I leaned against the wall, chest heaving, hammer slipping from my numb fingers. My ears rang, the static lingering, and for a moment, I thought I was free. But the apartment felt different, charged, waiting. You'll know which one I was. If this video stays up, I whispered to myself, voice cracking. Because somewhere behind the walls, or maybe in front of the mirror, I knew one of us had claimed the life we'd both fought for. One of us had survived. One of us had to stop existing. I staggered to the living room, scanning for signs, anything familiar. There was nothing but broken plaster, jagged holes, and the faint outline of shadows still etched in dust. My hand shook as I touched the wall, half expecting to feel him breathing back at me. And maybe I did. I collapsed on the floor. The apartment was silent, apart from the faint static in my ears. I convinced myself it was over. Then just as I started to close my eyes, a single, deliberate breath filled the air. It was behind me. Or maybe beside me. Or maybe inside me. The screen goes black. Hey, it's me again. I don't even know where to start. I just watched the footage. The whole stream. I swear I don't remember recording half of it. The hammer, the walls, the screaming. It's all there, but it feels wrong, like I'm watching someone else's nightmare. Someone wearing my face. Here's the weirdest part. The video was uploaded 2 hours before I even hit record. I checked the metadata 3 times. The timestamp doesn't lie. Somehow, it was already online before I made it. The comments are flooding in, people saying they saw 2 of me, that they could hear breathing even when the camera fell. Some swear they caught movement after the feed went black. I've replayed it over and over, and yeah. Sometimes, just for a second, I think I see a shadow where there shouldn't be one. But maybe that's just my mind trying to fill in the blanks. Everything looks normal now. The walls are patched, the light's steady. My voice doesn't shake as much as it used to. But I keep catching myself using words he used. The life outside, the original. Little things I shouldn't remember saying. I don't know which parts of me belong to which version anymore. Sometimes I'll be talking, and I'll hear a rhythm in my voice that doesn't sound like mine, just a little slower, a little more deliberate. Like I'm sinking to something. Or someone. The weirdest thing is, I feel better, clearer, like a fog's lifted. But when I look in the mirror, I don't quite recognize the person staring back. He smiles too easily. His eyes don't flinch when I move. Maybe I'm just tired. Maybe I'm finally free, still. I've been hearing these faint noises again. At first, I thought it was my imagination, the old pipes. But last night, as I lay in bed, I heard tapping. Slow, deliberate. From the same wall I broke open. 3 knocks. Then silence. Then 3 more, perfectly in sync with my heartbeat. I got up, pressed my hand against the plaster. Cold. Still. But the tapping kept going, like something was mimicking the rhythm of my pulse. It almost felt affectionate. Maybe he's still in there. Or maybe I am. I can't tell which one of us made it out anymore. Anyway, thanks for listening. I mean it. I think talking to you helps keep me grounded. If this post disappears, it means he came back. And if it doesn't, well, maybe that means I finally got out. If you think this is fake, listen closely. You'll hear me breathing. Hey, before I end this, I need to say something. Don't replay the echo. I mean it. I know how you people are. You'll pause, rewind, slow it down, listen for the whispers. Don't. That's how it starts. That's how it learns you. I've seen the comments already. People saying they hear the delay between my words and their speakers. That half-second lag that shouldn't be there. If you hear it, if you hear me talking over myself, leave a timestamp. That's not lag. That's him checking the distance between us. Some of you think this is an RG, some viral stunt. Go ahead, post your theories. I used to read them all. Not anymore. Last time I tried replying, my own comment showed up before I hit send. Word for word. He's faster online now. And yeah, I've heard the comparisons. This reminds me of the guy from Don't Talk to the Man in the Static. I think the same thing happened to him. The timestamps matched. The breathing patterns matched. Maybe this isn't just my story anymore. Maybe it's spreading through the recordings. Through a dot, this will probably get taken down again. It always does. Every time I upload, something edits the file before it goes live. The waveform's wrong. There's an extra layer of sound you can't hear unless you boost the volume at 214. Try it, if you dare. Just don't play it more than once. Anyway, thanks for watching. For listening. For, well, whatever this is. If I go quiet, you'll know why. And if you hear breathing after I stop talking, that's not yours. Comment if you hear me. Comment if you hear me.